Have you ever thought about this? What if you could run a farm that doesn't just produce amazing, healthy food, but actually cleans up the environment around it? It sounds almost too good to be true, right? Well, that is the incredible promise of shellfish farming. It's this really cool industry where sustainability and profitability can actually go hand in hand. So let's dive in and see exactly how it all works. So let's just start with this big question. Can a farm really clean the ocean? I mean, when we think of farming, we usually think of its environmental footprint, not its ability to heal. But in the world of shellfish, the answer is a surprising yes. And honestly, that one fact is what makes this whole industry so fascinating and so important. To really get why this is such a huge deal, we need to look at all the benefits. We're not just talking about growing food here. We're talking about creating a positive cycle, a feedback loop, right within our marine ecosystems. And the benefits really come in threes. First, you've got the environmental side. These farms are like massive natural water purifiers, which helps the entire ecosystem. Then there's the economic angle. They meet a huge demand for seafood, which can take some pressure off our wild fish stocks. And finally, for our health, well, shellfish are total nutritional powerhouses. It's an amazing triple win. Okay, so with all those good things in mind, the very first decision a farmer has to make is a big one. Which shellfish are you going to grow? This single choice is going to shape pretty much everything else, from where the farm is located to what you do every single day. So let's look at the options. Each one has its own personality, you could say. Oysters are kind of the resilient all-stars of the group. And get this, a single oyster can filter up to 50 gallons of water a day. Just one. Mussels are the fast growers, so they're a great choice if you're just starting out. Clams, on the other hand, are a bit more picky about where they live on the seabed. And then you have scallops, which are a really high-value specialty crop. The right choice for you really depends on your goals, your local environment, and, of course, how patient you are. Once you've picked your star player, it is time to build their home. This is where the planning gets really serious. You're literally laying the groundwork, or I guess the waterwork, for your entire operation. Okay, getting these 4 steps right from the very beginning is absolutely critical. Your site's water quality, that's everything. The permits, that's your legal license to even be there. The farming method has to be a perfect match for the species you chose, and starting with healthy seed, that's what they call young shellfish, from a good hatchery will save you a world of headaches down the road. So the first method is called bottom culture. This is probably the most natural way to do it. You basically seed an area of the seabed and let shellfish like clams just grow in their natural habitat. It's pretty simple, but it does leave them vulnerable to any predators crawling along the bottom. So to solve that predator problem, farmers came up with off-bottom culture. By using things like racks, trays, or bags, they lift shellfish like oysters up off the seafloor. This is huge because it protects them from crabs and starfish, and it also makes it way easier to check on them and to harvest them. And finally, if you're working in deeper waters, you've got raft and longline culture. With this method, ropes or nets are just suspended from floating rafts or lines. This gives species like mussels and scallops constant access to all the good stuff, the nutrients floating in the currents, so they can grow big and healthy. This method is also fantastic for scaling up your farm. All right, the farm is built, and your baby shellfish are in the water. Your job now basically shifts from being a builder to being a guardian. This whole phase is all about watching carefully and doing maintenance to make sure your stock really thrives. You have to be constantly vigilant here. I mean, farmers have to test the water all the time for any sudden changes, keep predators away, and just keep a close eye on their shellfish for any signs of trouble. Catching a problem early can literally save your entire harvest. And the risks you're watching for really fall into 2 main buckets. First, you have the local, natural threats, things like predators and diseases. But then you've got the bigger environmental threats, like pollution running off from land or climate change messing with water temperatures and chemistry. A great farmer has to be able to manage both. So after months or sometimes even years of careful guardianship, we finally get to the best part, bringing your product from the water to the table. This is where all that hard work really, truly pays off. Patience is definitely a virtue in this business, and the timeline really depends on the species. Mussels might be ready in about a year, which is pretty quick, but oysters, they require a much longer commitment. We're talking 18 to 24 months before they're ready for market. That's a huge piece of your business plan. And once you've harvested, where does it all go? Well, you've got a few different options. You could sell to wholesalers, which usually means consistent big orders. You could supply directly to local restaurants, who are all about that freshness. Or you can sell directly to people at farmers markets, which, by the way, often brings in the highest profit margins. You know, when it comes down to it, long-term success in this field isn't about just one thing. It's really this blend of producing a fantastic, high-quality product, being a responsible steward of the ocean, and having a really deep, practical understanding of the business itself. Look, the path of a shellfish farmer is definitely a challenge. It takes a ton of planning, patience, and persistence. But the reward, having a profitable business that is actively helping to heal our oceans while feeding people healthy food, that is pretty remarkable. So the only question left is, are you ready to begin?
Want to raise healthy, profitable shellfish without beginner mistakes? Get How to Raise Shellfish by Gerard, your step-by-step guide to successful shellfish farming. Link below.